Hi everyone, and welcome to my library. Today I wanted to do a different kind of video. I wanted to start doing book reviews. And today we're discussing or going through a classic by Ernest Hemingway called The Old Man and the Sea. I'm going to do a lot of spoilers in this video, so if you haven't read the book and don't want to be spoiled, I wouldn't recommend watching this. Maybe you should read the book first and then come back to this video, because I wanted to do a full-on analysis of my thoughts, and to do that I think I need to spoil the ending of the book, sadly. So if you haven't read it and want to not be spoiled, pause the video and go and read it and then come back to me. Otherwise, you can listen to me rabble on about this book. So like I said, we're going to analyze the book The Man and the Sea. It's a very short novel by Ernest Hemingway, and it's about this man called Santiago. He's a very old man. He's he's a very poor man. He's a fisherman, and all his earnings he's done comes from fishing. But when we start the book, we get to know him, that he doesn't have much. He doesn't have much shelter, he doesn't have food, he doesn't have money, and he hasn't gotten any fish for over 80 days, which isn't very good. He has a youngling that he takes care of, but the youngling's family is pursuing him to go and fish with the other fishermen, because they believe that this man is too old, and he has nothing to learn from this old man, because he hasn't gotten any fish in 80 days, and that's not good. But the old man decides that he wants to prove everyone wrong. But not only that he doesn't want to prove them wrong, but he needs food and he needs money, and the only way he can do that is to catch a fish. So he decides to go off even further out to shore than he usually do when fishing. So he takes his boat and he goes further out in the sea. This is when he catches a big marlin. It is huge. It's as big as his boat, and he gets dragged out to the sea, even further out to the sea. And this marlin is just dragging him on with the fishing line, which hurts the old man's hands, but he doesn't let go of the marlin. He struggles with it, but he holds on to it. He has this fight with this fish for many days, where the marlin just drags him out further and further out, and farther away from his home. And he's still hurting his hands. He doesn't sleep for days and nights. He doesn't really eat much. He eats what he can, but it's not a lot. During this fight, we get to learn Santiago, because he tells us stories of his childhood and who he is as a man, and his love to nature. He's also talking to the marlin on, it's all about like a surviving game, really. Like, who should win? Who's the stronger one? And he even goes so far to say that he and the marlin is very much alike, because for them it's about living or dying for both of them. Because if the old man doesn't get the fish, he doesn't have much to go home to. He doesn't have, a home really, and he doesn't have money, and he really needs the food. And the marlin is struggling for his life too, because if he gets caught by the fisherman, he will obviously die, and he just wants to be free. So they really have the same goal in this, which is very interesting that he does that between them. But after many days, he tired the marlin out, and he actually managed to kill the marlin. But the marlin is so big that he can't get it into the boat, so he has to strap the fish to the boat. But because when he killed it, he had to use a knife, and the marlin's blood has been like going out into the sea, which made a lot of sharks come. Now, it starts with one shark, and Santiago is very good with like fighting the shark off of the marlin, but then a whole herd of shark comes to nibble on the marlin on the side of the boat. The old man tries his best to fight off all the sharks, but he can't really fight all of the sharks off because there's so many. And in the end, the old man comes back to shore and he's home with just the spine bone, the head, and the tail of the fish. Everyone talks about him like newer people in the city. They were like thinking he had caught a shark because it was so big, and they didn't actually know it was a marlin. And the other fishermen were very impressed because it was a huge marlin. The youngling decided to keep fishing with this old man, but in the end, he really didn't come back to anything. And you can almost feel like it was all in vain, because he went out fishing and he had this huge struggle for days and days. And when he come back, he still didn't bring anything back. He couldn't sell the fish, he couldn't eat the fish because there was nothing left to eat off of it. And he's still living in poverty, doesn't have any money, doesn't have any food. So make you think that, was it all in vain? My thoughts on this book is, I think the biggest lesson that we learn from this book is that a man can go through all sorts of struggle if we just keep our eyes on the prize and what it is we want. We learned it from Santiago that he can go through all the sorts of pain and suffering if he just keeps thinking what it is he wants, and it's to live. In the end, it's just that he wants to live, he wants to have money, he wants to have food. And the old man is not just there for the food to survive and shelter, and that he also wants to show all the doubters that's been talking about him that he can do this. This isn't just, he thinks he's a very good fisherman. He's not feeling he's too old to do this. So he wants to show all the doubters that he can actually catch fishes. And he's not, he's an old man. And Hemingway usually writes about two kind of people in his books. He have the average person who is okay with being average and being okay in life and not really going up, up and beyond in showing their skills or perfecting any skills. And then he also writes about this person who doesn't want to be average, wants to be perfected in anything, wants to go further on what he does. And that doesn't mean that you need to have like a Superman, a power man, because this Santiago is a very tiny old man in diapers who, but he's still this up and beyond person, because he lets his hand get hurt and he doesn't let that bother him. He goes many days without eating and that doesn't bother him. He goes many days without sleeping and that doesn't bother him. He does everything to get this marlin and get this fish, and that just proves to me that he's one of those superhuman guys, that he doesn't just want to catch fish and be this average person and average fisherman. He goes and does amazing things because that's what he wants and believes in. So he's this one. I read a couple of reviews on this book, which is very interesting because a lot of them find this book to be very sexist, and most talk about this book that this old man Santiago is doing it to show how manly he is, how cool he is, and like he just wants to prove that he's a man. But then I feel like the people who wrote those reviews kind of miss the point of this book, in my opinion, because then you don't understand the poverty that this man is enduring. He has nothing to come back to. He barely have any food on his table, to not speak about the money or shelter. All he do is fishing, and that's what he believes in, that he think he's good at. So you have to go out to fish to get a big fish. And sure, maybe he should have let go of the marlin, but then, what then? What if he didn't get any fish after that? Then he let go of the only opportunity to actually live, have food, have money. So this marlin is basically his tomorrow. To be able to live tomorrow, he needs a fish. It's not about the fame to come back with a huge fish and a huge marlin. That's not really what it's about. To show off he's a manly guy and he's a fisherman and the best fisherman of all the fishermen. That's not really what it's about. He needs the money. He needs the food. He needs to survive the day. And so he needs that fish. And if he would have let go of that marlin and been like, oh, this is not worth it. I can't go a week being dragged around by a fish. What then? What if he didn't get any fish after that? What if that was the only fish he got? And he did his best, but life just threw curveballs at him, with all the sharks coming his way. He did get the fish, in the end, and he was really happy. But then, life is life. And, the shark comes, and he did try his best to fight the sharks off. But sometimes it's just nothing you can do. Sometimes it's just how life is. And my thoughts of the book is, it's a very easy read. It's a very short story. I wouldn't say you should speed run the book just because it's short, but Hemingway writes in a very easy to take in kind of way. So if you want to start reading classics, I would recommend this book because it's very easy to access and it's very easy to understand. He doesn't really use very big words and fancy ways of writing. He's a very straightforward writer to begin with, and I like that. It's easy to understand his books. It's easy to understand the meaning. And even if he's a very straightforward man, and he writes very straightforward, like this happened, this is how it is, he still managed to say so much on his pages, and it amazes me. I do recommend this book, and I just think it's such a perfect little book about life. I mean, sure, it's about a man and a fish, and I never thought I would actually like it. I was like, oh, okay, why would I want to read about this old man fishing? But it's not just about a man and a fish. It's about life and surviving and doing the best you can and struggle. It's about struggle in life. Like, it's really beautiful when you think about it. To manage to say that much when it's really a book about going days and days struggling with a fish. It's amazing. It's really amazing. I do recommend the book. I would give it like 4 fishes out of 5. It's one of my favorite Hemingway I've read so far, and I can't really say I've read a lot of Hemingway, but this one is one of my favorite ones, and I do recommend it. I hope to enjoy this small rambling about a classic book. Did you like videos like this? Because I'm going to do multiple of them, both classic books and other kind of book review videos. I'm probably just going to do spoilers on the classics because I feel like it's easier to do an analysis of them. Other books I might not analyze as much, and so I won't spoil the endings. But thank you for stopping by. Thank you for giving me a view, and I hope you will like, comment, and follow for more. Bye everyone, and have a lovely day.